this probably at least 3 or 4 times in that time. And so I'm going to be really interested and enlightened by what everybody else says. But I had a hard time picking things that I thought were slanted, because I think that we all have our own personal opinions about this topic. And sometimes our opinions can influence our perception of how something may be slanted. You know, how a certain phrase may rub us the wrong way. But yet, it's not slanted. It just rubs us the wrong way because it somehow doesn't maybe support our own opinions. So that's why I said this is a really interesting question, because I really studied this. I wanted to engage and participate with your question and activity, and I personally couldn't find it. I think there are fair statements such as, we need to do better. Well, you know, what does that mean? You know, I don't think it's slanted in any way. Or, you know, there are other things that jumped out on me, but I thought, is that just not maybe aligned with my personal opinion? You know what? It doesn't have to be aligned with my personal opinion. A fair statement is a fair statement, no matter which way, which perception it is. If that makes sense. So I'm really hear what everybody else says.
I'm with you, Vitalia, but I rated, what I picked out was trigger words. So when I see a word emergency, there's an emergency 3-week ordinance requiring a meeting, or it's a tense meeting. He had slammed his gavel multiple times. It's the largest healthcare system in the world. And that, when I see those, I feel like that instills fear. And, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, we have a pandemic, which we do. But you know what I mean? And so I look at it as, it could have been, I mean, when the writer is looking to get a particular reaction out of the reader by the words that they're trigger. That's how I read it.
I did pick up on that. But yet, you know, if he slammed the gavel, well, he did that. How do you argue with that fact? I don't like it either, because it incites that emotion, those trigger words, you know, in my opinion. But I can't argue with fact. He slammed it. There is an emergency, but it doesn't say that there.
And I'm going to take issue with your interpretation of the word slam. Slam could mean many things. It is an inflammatory word. He could have just wound up from the backside and went bam. Or he could have, as I've seen in court many times, just a light tapping. And that's considered a slam. So it's a matter of interpretation.
Right.
I see this as reporting what happened there. Some of these statements I vehemently disagree with. But if that's what the guy said, that's what the guy said. And if this is a reflection, what this person said may be a reflection, forgive me here, of his stupidity. Okay? Or his ignorance.
Could be.
I just see it as an article.
I've read this article probably more than anybody else in this room, including Lily. And I've looked at this, and what it is, and it is, everybody's right, by the way. Everything you're saying is 100% right. And it is actually, I was amazed at how balanced it was. It showed both sides, which I told Lily, I said, I praise this guy because he's actually balanced in playing both sides of the thing. The thing is that that's also causing separation of us too. And it follows up with, I'm sure what John will be talking about, what Lily's been talking about, is the sensationalism of the news. And it actually tells a good story, an intriguing story, but it's not necessarily something that's working well in these times because we are so polarized. Exactly. That's the whole thing. So that's.
I picked up on those words, Cindy, too. And I thought those were emotional triggers.
That's right. Because exactly. You know, and I come from a technical writing background, and so that wasn't. It's like for me when I'm writing, it's like don't put my opinion in the story and try to be very biased. And I agree with everyone that this is a good article and to see both sides. But that's what I just picked up on those words like to invoke emotion.
I come from a sales background, so where people shop rationally, but they buy emotion.
You buy an emotion,
Yeah.
exactly.
Emotion is what brings it in. Like when you talk about the interview person who had that expression that triggered you to give the reaction that you wanted, it's got to be a phenomenal tire salesman.
Exactly.
Is your family riding this car? All the faces.
Exactly.
And that's how you get it done. Emotion is what opens the wallet,
Yeah.
or sways the decision to whatever. I think the article was pretty well. It was written as non-biased as could. As far as non-biased, it was written well, but there was attention, kind of more elements of one side of that Minneapolis-St. Paul debate going on than the other, which can trigger the emotion of one direction or another. I didn't see any specific words, but just kind of, I guess, the balance of what was put on there. There was more of the, little more commentary from the no side of the vote than the yes side of the vote. It's like they got a little more attention on it, even though they try to keep it biased. This is where the attention was. There could have been another reporter that had the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Even though they're very similar articles, just slightly based on their own opinion and how they're written.
Yeah.
Jamie has.
Well, I was going to say, so I think in terms of journalism, they're trying to sell the paper and the articles and the emotion. I mean, that grabbed everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, job well done, journal writing, in the beginning. To pull you in, ooh, emergency, I got to read about that. Oh, it was tense, I got to read about that, you know. But I would agree with Michael, too. There's more time spent reporting on the other side. I then went into the criticalness of what those people said and wanted to start going, but as far as reporting, very non-commentary. Unlike, I would say, a lot of the other news today where it's all the adjectives are so strong.
Well, it is a business like tire sales. Yeah. It's a dirty business. Dirtier than insurance, though.
I was struck by actually how hard it was to find the slanted nature of the article. I thought, oh, this is classic. The minute I want to exercise to show, I can't find a dang thing. Now, I did see the slamming of the gavel, and I thought, slamming? Well, he's trying to show anger. And I thought, well, if you're a reporter and you're sitting in the room, and that's what the emotion was, then your responsibility is to describe it to the best of your ability for those who were not able to experience it. I could see how it was well written, and yet that was the first thing that I grabbed other than the emergency part. But yeah, I agree that it was really well written and is about as neutral as possible. Just want you to be aware of what you're reading, and also keep in mind that even pictures can make things slanted. Now, this is not an example, this is just that I'm listening near the end here. Having been a photographer for different special events, I take special care in noticing more slanted pictures. And I noticed, for example, they were talking about with COVID, how so many kids have been missing out on school and togetherness. There had been a picture of two kids, and the one lying like this next to the other one who was on their laptop. And I thought, wow, what perfect positioning. The kid was sad and tired. It could have been any moment in time in that school, but it illustrated the point well, and yet, had I not, it was a slanted picture in that sense, but it also was created for that article. I mean, all they have to do is say, show me two kids, one who looks really tired, I need it for my article. But keep that in mind when you see a picture that just grabs your heartstrings and says, oh, the poor kids need to go back into school because of, look at their heartbreak. Yeah, they look through about 20 pictures before they pick that one. Or even if you're thinking that you have listened to an interview that seems like it was rather short, or they grabbed a statement out of nowhere, make sure that you're looking at the entire interview. If it's a political related video, you go to C-SPAN to get the whole thing. C-SPAN. You can Google it. It's a great way to listen to the whole thing and make your own decision instead of getting a soundbite. Are you ready to be a dangerous consumer with the news and with food? I appreciate your time.